Hi, this is Alex from devstories.eu. Matplotlib, Episode 2 of 5. Formatting numbers on an axis can feel like a wrestling match. You want a clean 100K with a dollar sign, but you get scientific notation or raw integers crowding the screen. The fix is remarkably simple once you learn how to hand control of your axis directly to a standard Python function. Today, we look at the lifecycle of a plot using the explicit axes interface. The explicit interface treats charting as a predictable, step-by-step process. You are always calling methods on a specific object. The lifecycle begins by creating a figure and an axes object. The figure is the blank canvas. The axes object represents the actual area where your data will live. Once you have that axes object, every customization is just another method call applied to it. Consider a scenario where you have a list of company names and a list of their revenue numbers. To get this data onto the screen, you call a plotting method on the axes. For a horizontal bar chart, you call bar h and pass in the names and the revenue. At this point, you have a functional plot, but it lacks context. The next phase of the lifecycle is adding that context. A common approach is to set the title, the X label, and the Y label individually. However, the axes object has a unified set method. You can call set and pass keyword arguments for the title, the X label, and the Y label all at once. This single line of code handles the structural text of your chart. If you ever need to inspect what is currently applied, you can use the corresponding get methods like getXTick labels to retrieve the current state before you change it. This brings us to the most critical part of fine-tuning, formatting the axis numbers. When you plot revenue, large numbers create messy axes. Matplotlib might display 100,000 with all its zeros. You want it to say 100K with a dollar sign. Here is the key insight. You do not need to dig through obscure Matplotlib settings to fix this. You just write a plain Python function. You define a function that takes two arguments, the tick value and its position. Inside this function, you write standard Python logic. You check if the value is in the thousands, divide it by 1,000, and return a formatted string with a dollar sign and a capital K. To apply this, you tell the axes object to use your custom function for its tick marks. You access the x-axis property on your axes object, and then you call a method named setMajorFormatter. You pass your custom function directly into this method. Matplotlib takes over from there. As it draws the plot, it passes every single tick value on the x-axis through your Python function and displays the clean string you returned. The explicit interface removes the guesswork from customizing charts by breaking it down into a reliable sequence. You create the axes, map the raw data, apply your labels through a single set method, and intercept the tick formatting entirely with your own logic. That's all for this one. Thanks for listening and keep building.